Hello, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome back to Be On Your Radio. Welcome to Panelists' favorite show. Tonight, we finalize this three-part series discussing our favorite progressive albums, the state of progressive rock, the idea of prog, the name of prog, progressive rock, prog, which it's a great word because it has like the sound of God, prog, right? But let's not forget where God came from, whom the prog comes from. The subgenre of rock, defined by the following: ambitious compositions, virtuosity, kind of defies traditional mindsets and traditional boundaries of music, perchance the entry of folk and folklore to it, even classical and symphonic arrangements in those inclusions, odd instruments like the cello and international instruments, diverse influences of other music genres like metal. You got alternative in there. You can even have jazz, odd time signatures. Check out newer music. Obviously, that's where the odd time signatures really start to come in. Um, Extended musical arrangements, yes. Passages like in songs that are broken into segments and parts. But that's not always the case. It could include manifestos from all kinds of those musical instruments, the harp, the organ, the synthesizer, mellotron, and yes, even the flute. And of course, concept albums of all shapes and incredible story arcs that sometimes are incredibly recognizable. And there's some that just, well, they're dated to some degree. And there's even those that are theatrical in some cases. So we're here. This is the final episode, but we cannot escape prog, just like we can't escape God. It's been around since 1960s, and whether you believe it that it's never gotten better than the 70s, or the fact that this progressed so much and so far that it might just be too far gone for you. Well, that's why you come back here. That's why you go back to the classics. That's why you entertain the future. Like, just remember, though, those classics now, there are going to be classics from now that are going to be classics. You might not agree, but that's what they're going to be. For every yes, there's maybe a star castle. Look it up. For every Pink Floyd, there's a porcupine tree. Look it up. There's something in this century, and it's still going. And yes, you can go back to those albums that started it and get your hankering. They built these cities of progressive pop, to progressive metal, to even progressive space and doom and avant-garde. Whatever album is put on here tonight, classic or new, there's a rhyme and a reason for it, just like the very nature of progressive and its meaning. Go experiment. Check it out. Give it some listens. Either way, I'm glad you joined us. I'm glad the panelists joined us. If this is your first time here, please think about subscribing. We have all kinds of cool shows. Yes, it's not always about prog. It's not always rock. It can be any genre, any style. So, and don't forget to leave a comment or two. I always comment back because it's just the right thing to do and a tasty way to do it. At least that's what Boot Sauce said. On this finale, he's not in Kansas anymore. Or maybe he is. The Grateful Dude. Ian Anderson, John Anderson, Pamela Anderson. What? Susie Q. He does like the word. He doesn't like the word prog, and he sticks to it. Jeff Young. All right. So here we go. You got 5. We're gonna go 5, and then we'll go around in 4, and then we'll go around 3. We'll go around 2. We'll go around 1. And since we haven't heard from the dude in a while, why don't we start with the dude?
Oh, I think of a few reasons, but okay. I had to ask Mark the other day what prog was because I don't still understand it.
And that's why
I don't think there should be a prog. You know, it's rock is rock is rock is rock.
Welcome to my revolution.
But since we have to do what Mark tells us,
said no one in his family ever.
Right?
we have to do these 5 albums. It wasn't easy. Yes, it's not hard because prog is everywhere. It's every state of every mind in the musical world. It's everywhere. I picked. I think you guys all know them. They're not isolated, or they are very common. The first one is King Crimson, and the album is King Crimson's Court.
In the Court of the Crimson King.
Thank you.
I didn't know whether you're going to do that or Reds. You never know.
They're a very interesting rock band. I only been listening to about 2 years or so. They introduced me by I believe it was it might have been you, Mark, or it might have been Alec.
Okay.
One of you introduced me to them, but they're a good band. They are more blues rock than any other of my picks. But in saying that, they really rock. They really blow it away.
I mean, it holds the idea of manifesto. That's for sure, right? Everyone there on that palette is a musician extraordinaire, and the guy conducting it all, he's like the Gestapo of that, and he's dangerously attentive to every detail, and the music is on a scope and length that's just beyond normal rock.
What were you talking about again?
King Crimson.
Oh, King Crimson again. Sorry, I have AOL. You've seen these guys live or no, Jeff?
No, I have not.
Oh, is it like a first? That's a first of the show.
But I might still have a chance. I understand they're still playing.
Yep.
About the album itself, there's 2 that I really enjoyed: Moonchild and A Man in a City. Both very, very good songs. And that's about all I have to say. I'm going to be pretty short and sweet.
Understand. Well, the people in the prog world would know that album for sure. It's hailed up there big time.
That's kind of a cool band name too.
Oh yeah, great cover, great album cover, nostalgic. The minute you see it, registers immediately. Jeff Young, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is from 1985. It's the 13th album from Genesis, Invisible Touch.
Yeah.
I read where, there's so many recognizable songs on this, but I read where they did what they did the last, I guess the previous couple albums, where they go into the studio with no preconceived ideas, no developed songs. They just have, basically it's from jams and improvisations and jam sessions and a process they kind of called close to jazz, but I guess at this time the group had considered their strongest songs were developed in this way, so they wanted to do the whole album this way. I feel like they did a pretty good job of it. But yeah, Invisible Touch, Tonight, Land of Confusion, and Too Deep, like so many songs are just so recognizable, throwing it all away. Yeah, so anyway, it's a good one. Check it out.
Always a war between the old Genesis lovers and the new those that came on that Oh my God, two Phil Collinsy, two Phil Collinsy. You know.
Yeah, it's too easy to pick like Abacab, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, we had that discussion right already. Yeah. All right, Sue.
Okay. So, what about if extended, synthesizer solos are considered prog? What about Van Halen's 1984 for Say
You,
Jump?
yeah. It's
Uh,
progressive pop, right? Progressive pop rock. I mean, it's played
yeah.
out.
And even 1984, like the intro with Eddie, that could be progish.
Yeah. I mean, this is the to the discussion with Rush, right? Is Rush prog or isn't it prog? Does it have to have a keyboard in it? Does it not? Does it? Where is it going from here? And there's no question that Van Halen, over the years of, especially in the David Lee Roth era, with Eddie experimenting guitars and they go to synthesizer, it changed everything.
yeah, and these are prog albums. Doesn't necessarily have to be a prog band, but
Right.
Right. Like prog stylings, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's almost like these bands, they see the keyboard over there, they want to touch it, but they get their rock on first, and then they go get it. They go get the synthesizer. You go, oh, I can make this thing make guitar noises too, and stuff like that.
All right. Well, I'm going with 1984 for my fifth one because
I mean-
I had a more traditional one, but I just don't know it enough, and I wanted to.
it's probably only a matter of time. I mean, Eddie learned piano first before anything else. Before he went to drums, then he went to guitar.
I like the pick.
Okay. I know I'm not doing any traditional progs.
But this is that idea. We're talking about this name, this huge name, and everyone, well, this is the traditional prog. Yeah, so what? There's non-traditional
prog.
Prog is immense. Prog is God. What? Oh.
The
All right,
metal.
I'm going off the reservation. Probably most people won't know, but people who know, some of the people who follow Beyond Your Radio will know Nataraja, the band, and the album is Spirit at Play. This is where inventiveness, clever jazz and rock and fusion meet with brilliant drumming and cohesiveness of this structure, had by Andy Edwards, who I've already mentioned once on Prague. It's these people that had the mentality of not doing traditional things of Prague. It has its hooks in them, but they want to explore, they want to expand, and jazz is jazz is the purest prog as far as I'm concerned, because it allows progressive in any direction, in any form, in just not even, sometimes it doesn't have to be structured at all. The band keeps a simple beat or thing or a time, and and somebody improv. Is improv not prog? It's not progressive? Sure it is. Unless you start to play somebody else's song, then it's not. But the inventiveness of this record, the guitarist is way beyond his years and his scope and how he plays. It was an album that I believe was in our top 5 of 2024. If you don't know it, it's Nataraja, Spirit at Play, and another drop to Mr. Andy Edwards. Back to Jeff, Mr. Dude of the Gratefulness.
Okay. My next 4, I've seen every at least 2 times at least. The first band is recognizable, probably like number 1 of recognizable bands, even more than the Dead. I am talking about Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Yep.
It's if it wasn't for them, Prague would not be a thing. I honestly believe that. There are a few people that believe it was a concept album that opened up Prague.
Incredibly influential, no question.
I
mean, the first band you mentioned is King Crimson, and they're kind of responsible too, right? I mean, that's so yeah, it's
Yep. But I think Dark Side of the Moon and Pink Floyd actually put prog into. They had the synthesizer, they had the organ, they had every instrument involved, and it was a fabulous album. It was March 1st, 1973, and I know every song on the album. It's that drilled in my mind. It was at every party I went to when I was younger. Um, in my 18, 20, 20s, 18 to 21, 22, everybody played this every every party there was, and I went to a few.
I just picture like Cheech and Chong sitting around having a bong, going, "Man, this is like a level up above psychedelic rock. They're like progressing, man. We got to find a name for it."
I think we should call it prog, man. Don't you think?
Progressive monk. So there's nothing really to rehash on them. Um, we've all said something about Pink Floyd in the past, and they will always remain one of my favorite bands. Period.
Yep. Catalog will remain forever till this planet is no more.
Yep.
Yep. Mr. Young, what's your 4?
I'm gonna go with the fourth album from this band in 2006, Black Holes and Revelations from Muse. So I guess I read where it was described at one time in some article from some person someday, featuring progressive rock, space rock, and pop rock all at once. And like some of their other previous albums and some of their latest albums, it does feature dystopian themes, topics like political corruption, alien invasion, revolution, new world order, conspiracies, and it also has a love song or two. But it's just like the most recognized songs, like Starlight and Knights of Sidonia. Knights of Sidonia was my introduction to the band through playing Guitar Hero, and yeah, just incredible music.
Yep. Yeah. There's one of those you can't you say, well, there's never anything better than I don't know. Those first 4 albums are ridiculously great prog, and they'll probably remain up there as to record sales and people that will discover them even when they're not around anymore. They got anthemy too, which is another thing that prog doesn't usually lay into as much. But Queen would be the first person I think of when that's Sue.
Okay, well, here's another one that's prog stylings, not necessarily prog, but I went with 30 Seconds to Mars, A Beautiful Lie. Considered to be alt rock, art rock, but it is atmospheric, it's dreamy, it's textured, and some of the songs that, well, you can tell me, Mark, I guess, like The Kill or Was It a Dream?
Well, I mean, the album has a space rock kind of feel to it too. Underscores, it's synthesizer, everything.
Theatrical.
Yes, yeah. Well, he's
30 Seconds to Mars is one of those bands that you kind of recognize them when you hear them, but you might not, even if you don't know the song.
So they're kind of like Queenish in some way. Like, why aren't they considered to be? This is where I get thrown though. Like, why do some bands make the cut and then some don't?
It's where they start. I'm not saying that their first record was not prog enough, but
I got some on my list that aren't considered prog artists, but the album is considered.
Yeah, they started as basically an alternative band, right?
Yeah.
And then you got a guy who's in a rock band, and all of a sudden he's a big movie star, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of changes the format of things, and how maybe he sees the world as through that lens too. That is a great record, and it has a lot of prog to it, and It should probably be more considered prog pop and space rock than an alternative album. It doesn't have that kind of feel to it. It's more like the art rock thing is another term that's come out of sort of a prog, progressive nature of telling stories, with a little bit more flair and I don't know, vim and vigor. I don't know how to say it, but it's artistically. Oh, what is it? What do we tell you? Art movies, right? Art house movies, right? Yeah, I think that's how this is, and yeah, that they've had some really good records. Even offshoots of that have been good too. All right, I like that pick. Good album cover too. Doesn't fit the prog album cover, but close. Always look at like some seeing eye thing or
Give up. Give up.
circle. My number 4. This band was going to be on the list. It was going to be in the top 5 somewhere. I believe they are one of the greatest bands on the planet. The question is, what album? And the one that I believe to be the least alternative, more progressive in its stylings, for my taste and the delivery, is Interzone Mantras by the Tea Party. Mr. Jeff Martin, while he is an axe man, how he handles that guitar, and he's Morrison reincarnate, it's the keyboard in this that makes this band into the prog world, and the themes, the storylines, following darker paths, maybe not satanic as much, but the amount of reading and books that are referenced, brings out the Catholics with their signs of protest and everything outside their concerts every time you go, and the wording and the use of vernacular and how it's put together is one of a kind. So that's the Tea Party, Interzone Mantras. You got your Doors meets Led Zeppelin with darker themes and realms and lyrics. That the guitar works are never rehashed. You'll know, it'll be the first time you hear something. If you've never heard the Tea Party, this is my ride or die. If you haven't, this is somebody you need to experience. If you are anyone who loved that 70s all the way in, because he definitely has an ear and a knack for it, and he doesn't steal. He's putting it into his world, and for your audio pleasure. Mr. Grateful Dude, what is your number 3?
This particular band, I've only seen 1.5 times, and the halftime is because the person I was with who had to take us got sick in the middle of the show. And we had to take her away. So the band's name is Yes. The album's name is the Yes album, and it's a good album. It is a true progressive album in that direction. I saw them in '73, so they were on their. This is the 3rd album, I think it is, but their first 2 failed in the United States. The 3rd one, this one, did pretty good. It went to number 4 and just stalled there for a while. But they're a good band. The song that reaches out to most people is let's see, All Good People. That's pretty much
I saw John Anderson last Wednesday, and he played that song. Yes. And the whole crowd, they were there. They were in. They were loving it.
Yeah, because they're a tight band. They're a tight band.
All right, Mr. Young, your number 3.
All right. This is from 2017. Not a prog band per se, but a prog album. Stories We Tell Ourselves by Nothing More. So it blends. I wrote down what it said in Wikipedia. Blends progressive metal elements with heavier rock and alt metal influences, which is true, and it creates a diverse and experimental sound. So their emphasis on making this album was to make the listener feel something emotionally over technically proficient performances. And so the album concept is really, it's about interactivity of three types of relationships between oneself and another person, between oneself and society, and between oneself and their own self-understanding. Okay, Jesus, you lost me already. Yeah, that's progressive. So it blends, it blends some real good hooks that could be more even considered pop with, maybe heavy metal, hardcore type guitar riffs. And then some rhythms that are a little more complicated, and really just kind of a balance between some clean and some, I guess, not so clean lyrics and vocals. But it's a good overall album. That's the album I was introduced to them with, and then saw them for that tour too. But and they're good live. But it's if you like rock or even rock type metal, this is a good place to start, because it's not like your typical progressive metal bands where some of that stuff's just, you can't just it's not listenable, honestly. So, but it's just a quality album.
Well, when you talk about those type of bands, it's that they were probably influenced by Queensryche. Today's bands like Between the Buried and Me, and even Opeth, in the more heavier, darker, doomier side. But yeah, there's a whole gamut of those out there, and that's one of the real good ones. Sue, Sue, right? Yeah,
Could be me
could be you.
in a progressive sort of way. All right. Well, all right. So, Mark, Rhiannon Giddens,
Yes.
have you reviewed her?
Yes. Her previous album last year was in our top 5, I think, of 2024.
Okay.
Which was you are me. No, you make me you're happy. Oh, now I can't remember title. What? So Brianna Giddens, folk,
Yeah. So
fiddle player.
I went with her album Freedom Highways from 2017.
Okay.
Really good.
Mhm.
I knew I recognized her. I couldn't place it, but these are the sorts of albums that I'm like, oh, I'm going to listen to this more, and then a million things come up and I don't get to. But so very talented. It's a nice listen for an album, and um, it's classified or described as somewhat avant-garde experimentation. It's got some of the atmospheric sounds to it. Um, so obviously it's blues and folk, and
Mhm.
but again, she kind of slides the extras in there, and so it gives it a little bit of oomph, I believe.
Well, you talk about
Progressive oomph.
you talk about some other individuals who I won't mention, who use another instrument to and put it into that progressive idea and concepts and stretch it into, who'd have thought this fiddle would do this, and who, banjo and these kind of things, and where they fit. But yeah, well, Rihanna Giddens is a force to be reckoned with, and you never know what you're going to get with the next album. You really don't.
Yeah.
And speaking of all these instruments and stuff, so Jeff was on this trek of metal, and I will always consider this band to be one of the darkest progressive bands on the planet right now, and I think their albums continually get better. I know that some people do not follow this theology, but Tool. Fear Inoculum. This is the darkest progressive metal meets incredible musicianship to an almost like orchestral mindset. It's crushing the moodiness, the monumentally badassness that continually comes from these guys. It's like Dark Side of the Moon in an alternative metal rock universe with progressive metal without any guttural vocal, just this just earth shattering kaboom. You know, it just it
I
it
can't
gets
remember.
you.
Did I pick that one earlier too? Is that
No,
a no?
you took Latterless.
I think I thought I used two Tool ones, but I mean, who knows? I can't remember. I don't remember any of these.
Yeah, you use
I
Latterless.
probably used it for just another one on a different
Yeah,
show.
Fear Inoculum was. I mean, it changed. Uh, I would have thought that certain things were dead and buried, and they brought this album out, and they actually sold out of it in stores. That is not something that generally happens for albums like this. It was in stores, it was gone, and
For
obviously they
impressive.
make fantastic album covers. All this extra stuff to visualize it, to see it. I think it even came with a small camera or television thing in it. I don't know. Like $35 was the a CD because it had other. I never got to see what was in it because I didn't get to get it. I got mine from the library. So, um, anyway, so that's my number three. Now we'll go over the Grateful Dude, who I believe has an album in the wings here that needs to be spoken about.
Yeah, we sure do. This album is one of my favorites, but I haven't listened to it in 10 years. So when I was researching, I said, shit, why haven't I thought of this? I'm talking about Supertramp, Crime of the Century. One of the best albums. I've seen them in 74 and 79, and they just blew the lid off of things. I saw them at Dodger Stadium, and it was a sellout show. But even the people in the back part of the stadium all came for it. Everybody's on the grass. You know,
Pack 'em in.
had to be about 55,000 people. It was standing room only up there. But what I like about this
Brooklyn
album,
or L.A.?
huh?
Is that Brooklyn or L.A.?
LA
LA.
Dodgers.
Yeah.
I'm not old enough to. What I like about this album is every song on the album I relate to. There's from Schooling, Bloody Will Wright, Dreamer, Crime of the Century. They're all good. They're all fabulous. They're all to me number ones. I could not. I listened to this. I listened to the albums, all the albums, at least 2 times. I listened to this 4 times because it just brought back so many memories.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great, great album, and it's a great band. And I think all my bands. Just thinking about our English. You know, 4 of the bands are English, but it's a really good band.
Oh yeah.
Now I just want to know what your crime of the century is.
You'll find out.
All right. Mr. Young, number 2.
All right, this is one that nobody had any idea would be picked, and I didn't think of it either until just before the show. So the album is number 4. It's from 2006, and it's from a non-progressive band, but this is a progressive album. It's by the band Winger, and everyone knows them as more of an 80s type rock metal band, you know, very sort of poppy, but lyrically, much of the album is sung from the perspective of a U.S. soldier stationed overseas when Kip Winger was doing performing for different military bases, he got inspired to do this. The album cover is shows a U.S. soldier being watched over by angels. It's a comic drawn art, which is by Ethan Van Sciver. I don't know. He's known for his work with DC and Marvel, and it's a blend of hard rock, heavy metal, and progressive metal elements, and definitely more extended musical portions. Definitely more tones of like ambience than ever before. The lyrics fit in with it, and they're easy to listen to. So I just thought it was interesting that a non-prog band had such a prog album.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not as familiar with Winger. There's like this stopgap in my life of like hair metal bands and those, and I mean that, not giving them that moniker, but that I just like, oh, that was what I thought of immediately. I'm like, nah, I'm not going there, you know. So yeah, I'll check that one out. Sue, you went into space. You were blurred out. Are you back now?
I don't know. I think I may have become a vampire because I had the blur background on and suddenly I'm gone and I have
You were blurred
it's
too.
it's not recognizing me. But here I am.
You are here. We can see you. Maybe you can't see yourself, but
No,
I kind of like the other version.
I can put it back on. I don't know what's going on, but at least it's not too messy. Anyway. Okay.
you have a beautiful
So,
house.
is it beautiful?
Yes.
Yeah, this room is just
Not very prog though.
not
No.
More proggy in the bathroom.
The ceiling fan goes back to the 60s, 70s times of Prague, though.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it's making a little clicking sound that could be considered.
Very non-progressive. Yeah,
Can't hear it.
it's no, we can't.
Turn it up, man.
All right.
Sue, you're number 2.
Yeah, I've been switching some of these out as we've been going, but and I'm just testing the waters and I'm trying to test your patience, Mark. So, what about Peter Gabriel's So album from 1986?
Peter has always been progressive.
Well, I mean, in it did not register as authentic prog.
No,
However,
it did not.
Again, and the reason I thought about it was his duet with Kate Bush. And I can't remember if anybody had already done Kate Bush, so I didn't want to do Kate Bush, but I love that song, Don't Give Up, between the two of them. So, and Red Rain, and I mean, there's so many good songs on there. Like Sledgehammer, that's more of.
But that is progressive pop.
Is it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Why? Like, give me
because
a one
of the
sentence.
keyboard driven and that is a time signature that's not standard. You know, that's something that you just don't hear on radio at that point, and he brought it to the forefront. That would have been something that maybe Genesis might have done, but they probably would have never allowed it because that's, you know, Mr. Banks's band and he plays the keys. But, you know, Gabriel did what he wanted to do, and that is quintessentially the greatest album in his collection. And that is a fantastic record from start to finish.
Yeah,
it may have that pop sequences, but it has marvelous songs that are constructed on all kinds of different topics.
In Your Eyes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that, you know, that's probably as big as Every Breath You Take by Sting. So, you know, which isn't. But yeah, that's a great album. It was Peter Gabriel. I had 3 of his albums on my list, and I was like, geez, how do I get him in here? I found a way.
Oh.
I did.
You ever see Peter Gabriel?
I should have gone this year. Jeff Crichton said the show was absolutely amazing.
I bet.
Some in Vegas, I think in 84.
84? Okay, so that'd have been a great time because that's
nice.
Yeah.
Was that Shock the Monkey maybe? Was this one of the songs maybe? No, that might have been later.
It's a good song.
Yeah. So I got my Peter Gabriel in. Why? How? Okay. So I come into Genesis at more than likely that's all, right? Considering my age. Um, maybe I knew Man on the Corner. Maybe. Um, Nursery Crime. This is just how I took the progressive daring step to go back because that's not. I mean, Phil is on the record. There's no question. This is Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel and the whole crew, and this is monumentally prog. This has every inch of prog. This is your yes, your Gentle Giant, your it's all in, and you're talking about all kinds of different themes, tales, odd time signatures. Salamanca is one of my favorite songs of the Genesis catalog, but it's bliss. It's interesting. It's catchy, but not overly catchy, so that it's pop. It doesn't go there. You think it's going to. Like Trick of the Tail has some pop elements. Robbery, assault, and battery. Well, that's poppy, right? But Nursery Crime doesn't have that. It has these storytelling atmospheric things that go on, and there's a lot more instrumental depth in. I mean, and that's Steve Hackett, who is a brilliant guitarist and underutilized in the band, and that's why he wound up out of the band. I still think that was like the worst thing ever. They probably could have been, still around today if that might have been where they went and put their and hung their hat. But
Instead of an after school special, it's after the bar closes special.
the bar closed. Yes. Anyway, that's my number 2. Your number 1, Grateful Dude.
Okay. This is one that me and Mark have forever fought with. I think they're one of the greatest bands ever. Mark thinks he's like to throw them in the garbage can.
Forever and ever.
I don't. That's not go there. Kiss. I would throw in the garbage can. This is something I have never gotten to. I've tried many times. Go ahead.
It's thick as a brick.
That's me.
Yeah, your head anyway. By Jethro Tull. I think Ian Anderson is fabulous. I like the flute. I love the flute in it. Every song on this album I've listened to in many, many locations. And I've seen him live. I'm trying to think. I've seen 3 or 4 times. I can't exactly remember. One time was in Vegas, and 3 times we're in LA in different venues. But they're a riveting band. They really are. And they're one of those bands, and I hate to say this, but it's true, I believe, that they're better in concert than they are on album. Even though albums are great, their live albums, their live concerts are mesmerizing, God-fearing, just blow you away kind of stuff. If you ever see one, if you guys ever had a chance, and I don't think they're around anymore.
Well, this is his second album. I should say he. This is the second album in 2 years that just came out. So maybe I just don't know. That's the age and touring. I mean, John Anderson, I just saw. I don't know. Can Ian Anderson pull off a tour? I would think so. But I think he's got the guys to go do that. I think they could sell for sure.
Oh yeah, there's no question about it. I'd fly as far as Canada to see him.
Yeah. Well, if I find out that they are, I will. I'd like to go because they've always been this
enigma,
this wall I can't penetrate, and I've given it 2 goes already.
It'd be like your second Rush experience.
It's maybe that's where it is, but I mean, yeah. It could be, but I mean, I have listened like Rush albums. I hadn't listened to many, right? I hadn't listened to. I've heard songs, but with Jethro Tull, I have listened to albums. I actually have them all, which is should disturb a lot of people. That why do you have something you can't listen to? Because I try. Right? But
I'm gonna tie you down and strap some headphones to your ears, make
Yeah.
you listen to them for about 20 hours.
I just sometimes Grandpa's complaining too much. I can't take it. Just can't.
I like the flute part. I
The
love
flute. I listen when the flute is the flute and it's doing it, it's adding it. But all of a sudden,
Find
man,
setup instructions in the help section of your Alexa app.
is
Oh,
Alexa's all over me, man. She's upset.
It's very progressive.
Yes, extremely progressive. Maybe you should just shut up, Mark, and let
Hal.
Hal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the flute. When it's subtle, when it's done, but then all of a sudden, man, it goes to crazy town sometimes. And I even with keyboards, I don't want those to go to crazy town a lot of the times either. I don't mind a solo thing, but sometimes, I don't know. Just me, but I do respect the band, the catalog. We'll probably wind up reviewing it on this show eventually on this on our site and everything. So it's inevitable. So it's a good pick. I mean, there's not a progressive person that wouldn't say they didn't know Jethro Tull. They saw that album, they know exactly what it is. They hear that flute, it's pretty much going to be Jethro Tull.
Yep.
But Aqualung, that would have been my choice out of all. That's the one I can say I can listen to more.
I like Stick of the Brick. I've always have.
Well, it's a concept album, right? For sure. One of the better concept albums too.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Young, your number 1.
This is from '93. It's a
Pick again.
album. Dig by I Mother Earth. It's got a definitely I like metal like sound. It does have psychedelic style lyrics and instrumentals, and it's got regular drums, also more in addition to that, and with that Latin percussion. Which if you've ever seen them live, typically there'll be a session where they use both sets of percussion at the same time. Pretty cool. So this band, was a local favorite in Toronto. And they signed with Capitol Records and wound up with producer Mike Klink. So Klink also recorded Whitesnake, Triumph. I think he was coming off of Guns N' Roses at this time. Motley Crue, Megadeth, UFO, Jefferson Starship, Heart, Eddie Money. So they were pretty stoked. The goal was to take I'm Mother Earth's long and I guess sometimes called meandering jams, they played all the time locally in Toronto, and turn them into recordable songs. And I think this album shows they were successful with that. It's a variety of things, like the one song, Rainbow Fall, you've got some whispery or raspy vocals, also blended with some clean vocals with heavy rhythms. You've got some extended grooves with, again, the Latin percussion along with electric guitar, drums, and even bongo-ish like instruments. Just exotic percussion at times with like more of a funky bass, funky guitar. So Gently Rigo I saw was compared to like a 60s Carlos Santana slow jam. So yeah, this is, again, while not considered a progressive, probably more alternative. I mean, it's weird, this might be their one and only progressive album, realistically, but because this is the one where they will go off and do a little more jamming in the middle of songs. But it's just so different from one song to the next, even though it is every song. Once you hear them, you're going to recognize them.
It got me the minute I'm pretty sure it was you that, turned me on to that, and while you feel Yeah, I almost, feel heaven. The minute you think of this album, you are tapping the grooves and the bass and the rhythm that goes to this. This is a huge, progressively rhythmic album, and it's ginormous. And I don't think it ever got enough credit. I know one of my boys on
I mean,
Twitter.
it won a Juno Award. It's had some success in its own country of Canada.
Yeah.
They never made it big in the US, but which is weird for having such a producer that produced all those other bands I mentioned.
Yep. It's odd, isn't it? Just how things just don't connect. It's bizarre. That album is fantastic. Yeah, I'm Mother Earth dig. Great album cover too. Cool. Susie Q number 1. You're gonna challenge us to the bitter end.
No, well, no, this one, the only thing is, this is like week 3, and I don't think you called it out. However, if you did,
However,
I have a backup, but I'm going to give it a shot because I think this is a true blue progressive album. So it's got synthesizers and keyboards, it's got electric guitar, it's got bass guitar.
I have to say that sounded like a Marissa Tomei, however, by the way.
Okay. Well, tonight it's a Susie Tomei. Drums, percussion, backing vocals, theater style, ethereal, spacey, lots of synthesizer. I don't know how to give a clue without giving it away, so I'm just gonna do it. Strange Animal.
Gowan.
Yeah. Well,
Wow. Yes, of course.
right? A Criminal Mind.
It's on my list. Yes.
But you didn't use it yet, right?
Oh no.
It's on his list of top 80. So
That is. I mean, Criminal Mind is my favorite song of all time. It's sad but true.
Why is it sad?
Oh, it's just it's about a guy on death row. But anyway, and his mind will never change and things will never. But anyway, Gowan, Canada. Now with Styx, which makes absolute sense, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah. Great album. And it, what,
That's a good album.
1986?
Six, progressively changing the alphabet.
85.
1985.
1985.
Never been good at that year thing. If I was better at that, we'd have more viewers.
But yeah, that is a good album, and it is progressive rock. So, and roll and art rock and all of it. Look it up.
Look it up. Damn it. All right. My number 1. Could only be one album. I still think this is one of the greatest recorded albums of all time. It has levels of progression. It has levels of ambient technical aspects. It has one of the premier odd guitarists in the multiverse of music and a vocalist who uses an operatic delivery to, I guess you could call it operatic, but not quite. Radiohead, OK Computer. It is monumental. That Paranoid Android it's Paradise by the Dashboard Lights done in Prague. It takes 9 minutes or something like that to get through, and it goes from acoustic or electrical to acoustic back to electrical and all kinds of things. I've seen them twice, but I would love to see them now in a bigger setting. I've never seen them in the bigger setting. It's always been a smaller venue, a hockey rink or a amusement park theater, but amazing band. But this album is the quintessential place. I know that people say Kid A, but they progressively speaking, Tom York and Johnny Greenwood are the two most progressive collaborators there are on the planet right now. They will do anything differently. They don't care whether they're scraping, bless you, scraping jazz or blistering over just ambient, and they can never escape their own sound, which is a harsh reality because they have so many other things. The Smile, I mean, that's a great band, and they're still people go, oh, that's Radiohead. No, it's not. But I get where you're coming from, but there's nothing like OK Computer. Many have tried to emulate and have failed. There's a couple of bands that are close, but OK Computer is one of the most fantastic albums on the planet, production wise, from start to finish. And there's all kinds of weird things going on it. You'll catch the second time, the third time, the fourth time. It is the dark side of the moon of the modern era. You know, just not a double album. So those are our 5 and 5 and 5. And does anyone have honorable mentions? Or are we done?
I have one honorable mention.
Go ahead.
EOP, Emerson, Lake, and Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically the group that started the synthesizers, and they're fabulous. I omitted to put it on my list because I've reviewed it once before on the show.
Yeah.
So,
No, it
but
deserves it.
they're a fabulous band.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was trying to look up to see if there was any progressive soundtracks.
Oh,
And while it does list some, all the ones I checked out to me weren't even worth mentioning.
Sue?
well, I was trying to think outside the box, and well, what do you think about I say Rick James? Am I muted? No, I'm not.
You're not muted. Rick James, that I wouldn't. That would be a hard sell.
Like I was thinking, I mean, he like Super Freak.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was kind of edgy and experimental in a way. He put him, he broke that mold a little bit. I don't know if that's considered progressive or not.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But it was progressive for that realm of music. I don't think it has any rock in it, does it?
No, it doesn't have rock. Like R&B and funk and.
Or yeah, well, the funk, yeah, that's a system of it. Funk is always
It's playful, but
you know what? I gotta give it to you because what I'll do is I'll piggyback you. All right.
Well, and plus, I just want to say he's from Buffalo, right? He's buried here, so
yep.
not that matters, I guess, but
right. So
and yeah, it does.
Miles Davis, Bitches Brew, right?
Yeah.
Not rock in any way, but he took what was happening in the scene and said, I'm going to progressively change the face of jazz, and what I hear. And he did that with Bitches Brew. Or you could even say In a Silent Way too. Where it was insanity. So there are some people that probably can't listen to it, but I think it's astoundingly good. And then you go with that and you go, that's kind of avant-garde-ish. And then you think avant-garde prog. Well, Praxis, Transmutation. This is Buckethead, all right? And Bill Laswell. In the progressive environment in production and keyboard work, he would be one of those guys that you should turn to, that you should experiment with and take a look into, because he's responsible for some of these things. Steely Dan's Aja.
Yeah.
Right? That is, and I always say it wrong. I don't know why. That's a classic. But there's your bridge. There's your band that's doing rock, and all of a sudden, here, what was that? Funk? Was that what was going on there? What was added? What's going on? Right? And so here's one I was saving for a rainy day. Okay, Bruno Pernadas, Pernadas. The album is called "Those Who Throw Objects at Crocodiles Will Be Asked to Retrieve Them." Okay? This is just I'm not going to give you anything, all right? All I'm going to say is, well, what year would you think the time frame is on this one? Okay, I bet you find yourself more than absolutely wrong at what the timing is. It's a remarkably interesting record, and definitely prog in its makeup. But, anyway,
Okay, I got one more for you.
all right.
I happened to see this band long time ago, in 75, I believe it was. And they never did much, even though they have a slew of records. It's from a band called Gentle Giant.
Oh yeah.
Octopus.
Yeah, Octopus is always on the top 5 lists of the greatest prog albums of all time, and I have yet to hear it. I've never heard it.
Oh, it's
I'm
a great.
waiting. I'm waiting for that time, and I
Time is now.
there's so much that's talked about. I've heard Gentle Giant songs, but I've never heard anything on that record. And I, for some reason, this Genesis and Gentle Giant thing, I'm afraid to stick my toe in that water. I don't know why. Yeah. And I think they just put out something. It's coming out, the pre-order, and it's selling like hotcakes. And this is not a band that anyone would have thought about or talked about back in that day.
Well, maybe
when
if
they
you're lucky,
started.
they'll tour with Jethro Tull.
Yeah, maybe they'll open for Jethro Tull, like a 9-hour concert,
19 hours.
19-hour concert.
You sleep there.
Great. All right, well, I'll thank the panelists for doing this. These shows are always interesting. Sometimes we go a little overboard, maybe. Or is it just me? What were your progressive world of music albums that you enjoy that you would like to speak out about? If it's the past and classic versions, or is it the new ones that you want to exalt and put out there? Maybe you're into Blood Incantation. I know that sounds like some heavy metal band with screeching and stuff, but by God, they're more than that too. Please be progressive and click the like button and leave a spacey comment or two. If you haven't subscribed yet, we would love it if you'd say yes to that. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course, articles, videos, that podcast. Maybe. All about bands, artists, albums, anything we can get our hands on. Go Beyond Your Radio. That's a real music appreciation channel. Yes, tomorrow, album review Saturdays. Damn is back. So maybe that'll probably elevate the likes and watchability of it because it's not just me. Thanks for watching and happy listening.